As the Father has loved me, so have I loved you. Now remain in my love. John 15:9. My name is Sarah. I'm a student at Stanford University. I went to Guatemala in the summer of 2018. I had originally heard about a mission trip to London, England, and so I went to the meeting for that one. And then I also went to the meeting for Honduras. So I heard about that, and I really felt like Honduras was where I needed to go. And so I planned on doing that, and then eventually I had gotten an email saying that Honduras wasn't going to work out for our mission team. So they changed it to Guatemala, and that's how God kind of worked it out for me to go there. As the time led up for me to get ready and go to Guatemala, the enemy definitely was trying to tell me that I was not capable of doing it. He would start whispering, kind of telling me like all my own faults. And I'd start focusing on that and start feeling like, am I really going to be able to serve other people and tell other people about Jesus? But of course, God, when He calls somebody, He makes you prepared, and He gives you words and the heart to do whatever He wants you to do. So in Guatemala, some of the main ways that we were able to show love to people was just spending time with them. Like if you go back and look at the Bible, Jesus was intentional about spending time with people. So we did a lot of that, just talking to people, and then even if it wasn't necessarily a gospel conversation, it was showing the love of Christ. And then of course we were able to share the gospel with people, and people were able to come to know Jesus through that. Kelly's house is an area that's part of Hope of Life, where special needs kids and special needs adults were provided for and taken care of, because in Guatemala, people with special needs were often neglected and didn't receive attention or care. They were basically, a lot of them told they weren't worthy. But at Hope of Life, they were able to receive nutrients and food and attention. A lot of them were nonverbal, but we were able to play with them. And some of them who couldn't feed themselves, we were able to feed them and just show them the love of Jesus through our actions. And then at the baby hospital, although it is primarily babies, there was a lot of kids there too who had been not received the nutrients that they needed to be healthy. And so they are brought back to the hospital, and they're able to receive medical care and food. Again, just paid attention to and showed that they are important. We got to hold the babies and just love on them, and again, show the love of Christ through our actions. We went to the schools while the kids would be there. It was during their actual school day, so they got to be out of school. We went and we just played with them and spent time with them. Like a lot of them really liked soccer, or the little girls, we got to paint their nails and just spend time with them and just ask them questions about their life. I got to do that with what little Spanish I know. In Guatemala, of course, there was a language barrier, but we had interpreters there who were able to help us talk with people. I was able to use a friend's phone actually and speak with this one little girl who I got to be friends with one day. Her name was Debony, and we had a conversation passing the phone back and forth. And I was able to talk to her about Jesus. And she had known about Jesus, but some of the stuff that I guess she had been told wasn't necessarily accurate. So it was kind of cool to be able to just clear that up just a little bit for her. Some of the main things that I got to do was prepare food bags, and that's what I spent a lot of my service time doing. We kind of worked in an assembly line where one person would have the big bag out and we'd start putting food in, the next person put something else in. It was definitely a lot of teamwork, and we put things like beans and corn, milk and sugar and flour and stuff like that families would be able to use to make meals that would last them several weeks. So we were able to pack 335 food bags. We distributed the food bags out in Autumnbron, and the poorest people within that village were the ones who would receive the food bags. And so what we kind of did is they would line up, and then we'd line up also, our whole team, and each of us would have a bag ready. and would kind of meet in the middle. So one person has a bag, the other comes up, and then we give it to them, and then next person, keep going. What's really cool is my friend Devaney, who I spent time with, I got to give her bag, so that was a pretty neat experience. Going to the dump was probably one of the most life-changing experiences that I've ever had. When we got off the bus, there were these giant piles of just trash, and we found out later that people would come there and dig through the trash for hours in the heat of the sun and look for things like plastic or metal, so they could sell those things. And what's really crazy is they would gather this trash and fill up this giant bag, and they had to fill up the whole bag to be able to sell it. And once they sold it, it would only be worth $2 American. So if we think about, we can buy a candy bar here in America for $2. At the dump, we were able to serve food to the families that were there. Seeing kind of the position that these families were in was really eye-opening, because a lot of the kids had like torn clothes. There was dirt on their clothes. There was little babies there, and you think about how little they're getting nourished. That's really eye-opening, and that just really shows how blessed we are in America. One of the best ways to minister to people is how you treat people. Just showing Jesus in everything that you do. And of course we fail and we mess up, but our main goal should be to be more like Jesus than we were the day before. And so that, of course, really helps people to start noticing things. They'll start noticing, like, hey, they're different. And then finding little ways to serve people has a big impact. I felt going to Guatemala was important because I felt like, well, God calls us all to serve, and I had never really felt the call to go on a mission trip out of the country, especially without my parents. And so once I started getting that urge to go, that definitely was God, because that is so out of my comfort zone to do something like that. And when He calls you to do something, it's important to just do it and just embrace like what He's doing. And so that was really cool. As you grow closer to Jesus, He starts reminding you of things, of truths, of who you are in Him. And that's one of the most peaceful things, is being reminded of who Jesus says you are and how much He cares about you and how much love He has for you.